So first I will see what is a computer and what is it. So the basic definition of computer, so it goes like this. So a computer is an electronic device that takes data as input, process it, and converts it into a meaningful information that could be understandable, and presenting that changed input, that processed input as output. So what is the basic strategy of a computer? So the basic thing that is related to computer is it is an electronic device. So where that electronic device, it takes some data as input. So there is a difference between the data and the information. Data and information. A data is a raw data. If you process the data, you'll be getting some information. When you process that data, we'll get some information. So the processed data is called as information. So data means it can take the data in different formats. It can take the data in form of a numbers. It can take data in form of text, images, like multimedia images, like images or videos or animated images. So it can take an audio clip. So anything can be taken as input by that electronic device, and it will try to apply some kind of operation, some kind of processing on that data, some kind of processing on the data, and that processed data, it gives as an information to the user. So that processed data, that which is information, we call it as output. And very simple, a computer is an electronic device which take a data as input, process it, and gives output to the user. A very simple note. Okay, so in this here we have the majorly we have three components are involved in this computer. So one is input, processing, output. So these are the three important things that will be done with the help of this computer. It takes input, it processes the data, and it gives output to the user. So okay, for doing this, for performing these operations, the computer consists of three important components. It consists of three important components. So the important components that are involved are input devices, output devices, and CPU, the central processing unit. Input devices, output devices, central processing unit. So first of all, what is an input device? So what are input devices? In general, mouse, keyboard, touchscreen. So all these are input devices. What devices we call them as input devices? If the user want to give any instruction to the computer, if the user want to give any instruction to the computer, that can be given with the help of these input devices. So the communication is from the user to the computer. The flow of communication is from user to the computer. The devices which are used for this purpose are called as input devices. The devices which are used for this purpose are called as input devices. So the communication is from the user to the computer. With the help of mouse, I'll try to click. With the help of the keyboard, I'll try to type. with the help of touch screen, I'll touch the content on the screen. The communication is from the user to the computer. Output device, it is the reverse of input. That means the communication is from the computer to the user. If the computer, if that electronic device want to communicate or it want to give some information to the user, that will be given with this output device. That can be done with the help of output device. So the output device like your monitor, your printer. So where on your monitor it will show you the output. Where on your printer with the help of the printer it prints the content. So that content will be given to the user. So that is also one kind of output device. And next, the most important component of this computer is the central processing unit. It is the central processing unit. So you can say it is the heart of the computer or the very important part of the computer. So you can say it as the heart of the computer also. So this CPU, it is having some parts. So you can look on the figure on your screen. So it is having something like control unit, arithmetic and logical unit. So which we simply call it as ALU. It is called as ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. And the important unit is memory unit. So with the help of this memory unit, you can store your data. So this CPU is again, it consists of three parts: control unit, arithmetic logical unit, and a memory unit. So we'll see what is the importance of each unit individually. So this control unit, so it is responsible for controlling this ALU and memory unit. ALU and memory unit. So it tries to give them some instructions from arithmetic logical unit and memory unit. It will control these other units of your CPU. So that is why the name it is given as a control unit. What kind of operations to be given to the ALU? What kind of operations when it requires some data, it will fetch from the memory unit. So the controlling part will be taken care by this control unit. And we have the other unit called ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. Any kind of arithmetic or logical operations will be performed in this unit. Arithmetic and logical operations. Arithmetic operations means your operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So this kind of arithmetic operations can be performed here. You can also do some logical operations. So where you can use this logical operations is when you want to compare two quantities, whether the quantity is less than the first second one, or less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, whether these two quantities are equal. So this kind of logical operations, this kind of logical operations, so that can be done in the arithmetic and logical unit. And the very important unit is the memory unit. The very important unit is memory unit. So the purpose of this memory unit is to store the data or to store the information. So after applying some processing, when you get some important information, that important information can be stored in your memory unit. So what is the purpose of storing in your memory unit? What is the purpose of storing in the memory unit? So whenever you require in the future, you can use it. So that is why we'll store some images on your computer or on your mobile phone. We'll store it because whenever later in the future, if I require, I can use them. That is what happens with the information also. By applying some arithmetic operations or some logical operations, if you get something, some information, I'll go and store that information on my memory unit. And later in the future, if I require at any point of time, I can use it, I can get it from the memory unit. Okay, so here we have a different types of memory. We have different types of memory. So we call it as a primary memory and a secondary memory. We call it as a primary memory and the other one is secondary memory. So what is the difference between the primary and secondary? What is the difference between the primary memory and secondary memory? Primary memory is a temporary memory. Primary memory is temporary memory. Whenever I switch off my computer, the data in the primary memory will be lost. So that is why we call it as a volatile memory. We call it as a volatile memory, temporary memory. Whereas a secondary memory. So secondary memory is the permanent memory. Secondary memory is the permanent memory. Even though you switch off your computer, even though you switch off your computer, it will not happen anything to your memory. Sorry, it will not happen anything to your data because it is a permanent memory. Until and unless you delete it, it will not be lost from your secondary storage device or your secondary memory. So all of you are using smartphones nowadays. So you come across with this primary and secondary memory. Primary memory is simply nothing but your RAM, random access memory under is RAM. And secondary memory is your hard disk or your memory chip, memory card, your pen drive. They are the secondary storage devices, or we call it as a secondary memory. Comparatively, the primary memory is very, very less when you compare it with the secondary memory. When you compare it with your secondary memory, the size of your primary memory is very less. You can observe in your mobile phones also. So you'll say RAM of 4 GB or 8 GB. But for a 4 GB RAM, the mobile with a 4 GB RAM, What is your internal storage? Internal storage is something like 32 GB or 64 GB. Nowadays, you are getting mobiles with 128 GB as well. So compared to your primary memory, secondary memory is very huge. When you go with a laptop, so nowadays we are getting a laptop with 1 TB, 2 TB. So 2 TB is a terabyte. So you know what is it? What are the units of memory? I'll discuss them. So this is about the primary memory and secondary memory. Simple primary memory is a temporary memory. What is temporary? Whenever you switch off your computer or whenever you switch off your mobile, the data stored in your primary memory will be lost. Okay, the data that you that stored on your primary memory will be lost. And the size of the primary memory is comparatively very small. With whom I am comparing? I am comparing with the secondary memory. Secondary memory is a permanent memory. It will not, the data will not be lost until and unless I delete the data, or if something goes wrong with your with that device. If something it crashes, so then we can't do anything. The data will be lost. But the data will not simply, it will not be lost when you switch off your computer or you switch off your mobile. So that is a secondary. So RAM is an example of a primary memory, and hard disk is an example for secondary memory. And now, what is the basic unit of your memory? So how you can measure your memory? What is the basic unit for measuring the memory? The smallest unit is bit. The smallest unit of your memory is bit. It will represent it will represent 1 or 0. The very smallest unit of your memory is bit. Bit represents either 1 or 0, is called as 1 bit. One bit can hold 1 or 0. Any one number can be stored inside it. Okay. So collection of 8 such bits. Collection of 8 such bits is called as 1 byte. Collection of 8 such bits is called as byte. Okay. So that means 8 bits. So that means 8 different combinations of ones and zeros is called as a byte. And look there, bit and byte are written with lowercase and uppercase. So we generally write it like that. So bit is represented with lowercase and byte is represented with uppercase B. Okay. Next is uh, 1 KB. So 1 KB means 1 kilobyte. So 1 kilobyte means 1024 bytes. 1024 bytes. 1 KB is 1024 bytes. Generally, kilo means 1000 in general. But as actually, as per number in this memory, 1 KB is 1024 bytes. And next is 1 MB. So 1 MB is 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte means 1024 KB. So 1 MB means 1024 KB. That means 1024 into 1024 bytes. 1 KB is 1024. 1024 KB means 1024 into 1024 bytes. In the same way, 1 GB. Next unit is 1 GB. GB is gigabytes. So nowadays you are coming across with 4 GB RAM, 32 GB internal storage, or 64 GB internal storage. Right? It is 1 GB means 1024 MB. It is 1024 MB. So 1024 MB means 1024 into 1024 into 1024 bytes. That means 1024 cube bytes. And next is 1 TB. So TB means terabytes. It is 1024 GB. Nowadays you are coming across your laptop hard disk with 1 TB or 2 TB, like that. And next is 1 PB, which is a petabyte. So 1 PB is 1024 TB. This is very too much. 1024 TB. So 1024 into 1024 into 1024 into 1024 into 1024 bytes. So 10 to the power of 5 bytes. So these are the different units of your memory. So very basic unit starts with bits. So bit is a combination of either 1 or 0. Either you can say 1 or 0. So that is a bit. 8 such collections. That means a collection bit, a byte like this. Okay. So this is called as 1 byte. So this is called as 1 byte. So in this, in every byte, you can place either 1 or 0. You can place, so depending on the value, it places 1 or 0 or something. Nothing other than 1 and 0. A bit is only, it can store only either 1 or 0. Imagine 1 KB means 1024 this kind of bytes. So this is how you can represent your memory. And next, Other than this input CPU and output devices, so you have two other things that are related to your computers. So that is hardware and software. That is hardware and software. So what is hardware and what is a software? What is a hardware and what is a software? So hardware is something in your computer, uh, any physical device used in your machine, any physical device. So we generally call a computer as one machine. A machine with any physical device is called as a hardware device. What is a software device? It is something virtual. A software is generally, in simple, we call it as a collection of instructions. Software is a collection of instructions so that are installed on your computer. So that is called as a software. Hardware is something which you can physically, uh, a physical device, a physically that is visible, and the physical device which you can hold, which you can touch. So they are called as a hardware devices. But a software device which you cannot, visually you cannot see and you cannot touch it. It is not physical. A software is something virtual, which is a collection of instructions, a collection of a program, which is installed on your computer. That is called as a software device. Software. We don't call it a software device. We call it as simply software. In hardware, we call them as a hardware devices because it is a physical device. Being it as a physical device, we call it as a hardware device. Software is simply a collection of programs, a collection of instructions that are stored on your computer, on your hardware, like your installed on your memory. So here you have two types of software devices are there. Two types of software devices are there. One is system software and another one is application software. System software and application software. So what is the difference between this system software and application software is? System software is a software which is used by your computer to make interact with that computer, to make the user to interact with that computer, or to make the user to interact with that system. That is called as system software. A system software is a software which is used by your system to make the user interact with it. So you know operating systems, right? Operating system is one best example for that system software. So that system software, it is used by the, it is a software that is used by your system to run. Operating system, you take Windows, you take Android, you take Linux, Unix, you take Mac, iOS, iPhone operating system. So all these operating systems are examples of your system software. All the operating systems which are, which runs on your system, they are helpful for the system to run properly. Such kind of software is called as a system software. Windows, different versions of Windows, Unix, Linux, Mac, iOS, Android, many other. So all these operating systems are the best examples of system software. So then what is application software? Application software is a software which is used for performing some particular operation. That software is exclusively used for performing that operations. That is called as application software for performing that application. Okay, so you know Windows document, Microsoft document. So that document is a software which is used for writing some content on that. So to store some content, to write some content in that. So that is an application software. So you know something like a VLC media player. So that is an application software which is used for playing some media applications. It may be an audio application or a video application. When a multimedia file is there, so to play that file, we use that VLC media player. You know PowerPoint. So PowerPoint is one application software which is used exclusively for preparing some slides, some PowerPoint slides, Excel sheet. So all these are the application softwares which are used exclusively for performing one particular operation. I can't use a Microsoft Windows document for playing some audio clips. I can't use an Excel sheet for playing some multimedia files. Acrobat Acrobat Reader. It is used for reading a PDF document. When there is a PDF document, that PDF document can be opened by using or viewed by using that Acrobat Reader. So that is one application software. So system software is will work directly on your hardware device, and application softwares, they'll work on the system software. So without that system software, you can't use application software. But without application software also you can run your system software, because one or the other application I will use, but you require at least a system software to run directly on your hardware device. On a hardware device, it works as system software. On the system software, it uses an application software. An application software is used on the top of the system software, and system software will directly works on the hardware devices.
Someone is asking to repeat this point.
Sure.
Someone is asking to repeat the same point.
Sir, about application software and system software. Can you please repeat this point once?
Yes. System software, it works on the hardware device, like your operating systems. So operating system is one which directly works on the hardware device, which acts as an interface between the user and your hardware devices like your monitor, your input devices like your keyboard, mouse. So they act as an interface. So they directly work or they directly use it with your hardware devices. Whereas coming to an application software is for a specific purpose. Purpose like to view any multimedia application, we use one kind of application software. To prepare the PowerPoint slides, you use a different software. To prepare an Excel sheet, I use Microsoft Excel. To prepare a Word document, I'll use a notepad or a Word document. To view any PDF, I'll go with an Acrobat Reader. Here, these are the application softwares which are used for performing that particular operation. Okay, these application softwares, they work on the top of the system software. And the system software, they directly works on the hardware devices. Like a system software, it will interact with the in between the user and the hardware devices. Like you simply use a mouse, use a keyboard, use a monitor. So these hardware devices, so they will interact with the software. Which software? They interact with the system software. And on the top of that system software, we use an application software. We use a different application softwares, but on the top of the system software. When you interact with the application, when you type something on your Word document, so you are using an input device. So that input device, it will first initially it should work with your system software. So is it supporting to that system or not? When it is supporting to that system, then whatever you are typing, that can be visible on your Word document.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So that is what these are the major components of your computer. Okay. So without this, any of these things, you will not have your computer. So you require all these, the combination of all this will give you a proper computer. Okay, so that is for today's session. So tomorrow we'll see what are the different types of languages we have. So what we actually have to do before getting into a program. So we'll have something like algorithm, we'll have something like a flow chart. So we'll see those things, and then we'll get into the uh, programming language.
Sir, I got two more doubts actually. Oh my God.
Yes, yes, tell me.
Yeah. Sir, how will we understand where the data is getting saved? We were discussing about RAM and hard disk. So when we give some input in the laptop or system, whatever document we save, where does it get saved? How will we understand this?
That is not the part of it. It is simply it stores on your secondary storage device, your hard disk.
Okay.
So that is completely uh, a different story, not at all related to the programming language or something.
Okay, sir.
So it is completely a different kind of a story. So how
Fine,
the
sir.
data stores, how the data retrieves.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sumant sir. Sir, dear
Sure.
students, if you have any doubt